Hello. Hi. I'm Ted Bradshaw from Barefoot Coaching. I work as both a coach and as a cognitive behavioral therapist. And today I wanted to share with you something about how you understand what makes you anxious. You can see I have been preparing something from earlier. Basically, what I wanted to do is leave you with something practical to take away from today. One of the most common things that people bring when they first come for some help with anxiety is they'll say, I don't really know what makes me feel anxious. And that can be really frustrating because you just feel like it happens and there's no reason for it to happen and it just pops up. That is rarely the case. It always feels that way, but it is rarely the case. So one of the things that we're going to try and do today is help you get a handle on how do you understand and make sense of why you're feeling anxious, because it usually does make sense. This is part of a wider course. So if you're a subscriber through the magazine, Psychologies magazine, or through the website, you'll be able to find a full course on how to manage your anxiety with me on the Life Leap Club page. Hello, everybody. I can see some people saying hello. Hello, Anne. I think I know you, Anne. Hi, nice to see you. What else? I've lost my track now. Let's pull myself back on board. Here I am. So, managing your anxiety. The other places you can find some more out about me is if you go to Barefoot Coaching Facebook page or Instagram page, you'll find some other short videos from me on anxiety, parenting, lots of different psychological things, if you like. Let's talk about anxiety, shall we? The first thing, if you have any questions as we go along or a specific question you have about understanding a particular type of anxiety, feel free to chuck them in the chat as we go along. I can see the comments that are popping up on the side. Anxiety, the first thing to understand is that anxiety is a normal, natural response to a threat. It is your body's reaction to get you ready to deal with a threat that might be popping up. Hence some of my drawings of a tiger over here. The difficulty being that not everybody experiences threat or danger exactly the same. One fundamental principle that I want to talk about today is that your brain's first job isn't to be nice and logical and reasonable and to keep you calm all the time. That is not what its first purpose is. Your brain's first job is to keep you alive. And the way it has to do that is to try and spot danger. So your brain is actively looking for problems, looking for danger. That's something to understand. But what you see as dangerous isn't necessarily the same as what somebody else would see as dangerous. For example, if you have been bitten by a dog when you were very small and it was really scary, you would be more likely to view dogs as dangerous or to feel anxious around dogs than somebody that's always had really positive experiences with dogs. Maybe you had dogs in the family and all you really see is kind of warmness and fluffiness every time you see a dog. So that's something that we're going to talk about today. What I want to get across here is that when we feel anxious, what your brain is spotting is danger. And one of the things that's frustrating a lot of the time with anxiety is it can feel like, well, where's the danger? There isn't any danger here. There's not often a sort of tiger in the room. That's what the physiological response is there for. It's to get you ready to deal with a threat that's in the room. So if a tiger walks in here, my body dumps a load of adrenaline into my bloodstream, gets me ready to run away or to fight off that tiger. Its heart rate goes faster, your breathing increases to try and get oxygen to your muscles. That's what it's after. It wants you to react. It's trying to get you moving and to get away. Problem is, as I've said, there isn't always a tiger. So why is it kicking off when there isn't a tiger present? And this is something that I wanted to talk to you about. We feel like there are some things that are generally scary, if you like. So public speaking is a great example. Coming on and doing something like this, most people will feel quite anxious about. But the level to which one feels anxious can be made worse or made better by how much danger our mind kind of perceives. So if you're walking through a sort of your town and you saw a few trees, you saw some houses, you saw some people, you saw a tiger, it would make sense that your brain needs to pick out pieces of information that are more important. Your brain is actively scanning for danger, as we've said. So one of the first things we want to try and understand is, what is it that my brain's actually seeing as dangerous here? And this is the next thing we're going to talk about. I'm going to go through an example with you. This is what we do in CBT. This is what we typically try and understand is, what is it that's going on that's making me feel anxious? Hello, I can see some other people saying hello. Hello, everybody. Hello, Leanne. Hello, Michelle. I wanted to go through an example about me coming on here to do a Facebook Live thing. I feel like that's a fair enough thing for us to talk about because I'm feeling quite nervous. I'll be honest with you. I've done loads of public speaking, but it doesn't immediately stop you feeling anxious. So let's see if we can understand, using this example that you can try at home, how you can help yourself understand your anxiety better. So the first thing you'll notice, the first thing that will be really obvious to you is how you feel. So I'm going to, thank you. I just saw a comment on my drawings. Thank you very much for that. Is how you feel. That's the first thing you'll notice. So theoretically, what we've just spoken about is when there's a situation in front of you, so you're about to go on and do a Psychologies Live thing, your interpretation that what you see as danger is part of what makes you feel anxious. But it's not the full story necessarily. But it doesn't feel like it works that way. It doesn't feel like you go, oh, I'm a bit scared of this. It feels like there's just this physical reaction that's going on. And that's the first thing you'll notice. So physically, before I was doing this, when I woke up this morning, some of the stuff that I was going on, and this is where I'd encourage you to start. I'm feeling anxious. Physically, for me, that's most of the time is churning stomach. So I'm churning, I'm feeling tense. Again, you can kind of see where some of this comes from, where if this is a bodily reaction to get rid of danger or get you away from danger. That tension, that kind of coiled spring type thing. So churning, tense, probably some other things there, but they'll do for now. The second thing I'm going to ask you about, so I'm going to leave you with, I'm going to show you what this is, this question that we're going to ask, is I'm going to ask myself, what is it that's going on that's making me feel that way? And again, that's not always easy to see because sometimes you don't really, well, one thing that happens is you go, it can't be that because that would be silly. So you're like, I can't possibly be anxious about that. That must be wrong. I can't be anxious about that. That would be silly. So worrying about getting something wrong in an email or worrying about doing public speaking when you've done public speaking hundreds of times before, part of you goes, don't be ridiculous. It can't be that. But this is what we're going to use. What is this about? What is it about this situation or what's going through my mind that's making me feel so anxious? So this is what we're going to do. Let's try it out. So I was asking myself this morning, well, okay, I'm feeling anxious. What's going on? First thing is I'm at home and I'm thinking about doing this. Thinking about Facebook. So then I want to ask myself, what is it about thinking about doing this live broadcast that's making you feel so anxious? And then I'll get somewhere towards some of the answer. For me, this morning, it was about, I'm feeling anxious about doing Facebook Live. All right, so feeling anxious about Facebook. And what is it about it? The idea that there might be loads of people and that they might not like it. They might not like it. So then I asked myself again, what is it about the idea that there'll be loads of people on there and they might not like it that makes you feel so anxious? And the answer to that for me probably is, what is it about the idea that there might be loads of you and you might not like it? That there might be horrible comments. And sometimes as well, a really useful question to ask yourself is not kind of sentences that are going through your head. What about images? What do you picture? So this morning when I was feeling anxious about this, what was I picturing? I was kind of picturing myself on here, stumbling for words, sweating, loads of comments coming up like, this guy's an idiot, what's he talking about? If I'm honest, one of the things that scares me the most is that people I know might come on here and think it's stupid. That scares me more than anything else. That really scares me. So, all right, so there'll be comments. Essentially what that boils down to is people won't like me. Even saying that out loud, I'm getting a little bit more of this as I'm talking about it, a little bit more of it. Essentially, you keep asking yourself that question. What is it about this that makes me feel anxious? And you just get a little bit further each time, just a little bit further each time. You know you've reached kind of the central point of it when you've asked it so many times that you don't have an answer anymore. So if I ask myself, what's so scary about the idea that people won't like me? I don't have another answer to that. That's the scariest bit for me. But again, that tells you quite a lot about who I am as a person. A lot of that comes from some of my history. A lot of that comes from how important it is for me to be liked, or how scary it is for me to not be liked. For you, it might be something different. For you, when you get anxious, it might be more about getting things wrong, what that means to you, and you can make sense of that through your experiences. But trying to, every day when you feel anxious, if you don't know why you feel anxious, trying your best to note when you do feel anxious and to take a bit of time to think, what is it about what's going on that's making me feel this way? I've seen a couple of comments and questions about, what happens if it's just happening all the time? What if there isn't something there? And you may well be right. It could be that there isn't anything there. One of the things that's worth looking for, or one of the principles that we try and stick to, I'm particularly referring to James's question here, is actually when you feel like you're feeling anxious all day, which must be a horrible, horrible experience, because it's a grim feeling, isn't it? It's horrible. Even feeling it just now, I want it to stop. I want it to stop. I desperately want it to stop. If it feels like it's happening all day, every day, is to look out for, is there any tiny changes? If there are points in your day when you feel 5% more anxious than you did earlier, it's worth thinking, okay, well, what might have been going on? Is there anything that's going through my mind? It doesn't have to be something physically happening in front of you. Sometimes it's just a thought that's popped into your mind. You're thinking about something you might do in a couple of days. You're thinking about something that happened yesterday. What is it that's bothered you? What is it that's pushed that up? Getting in the habit of trying to look for it can be really helpful. Thank you for coming along today, folks. I'm going to hang about for a couple of minutes just to see if there's any other questions or comments that have come up. But I wanted to share with you again where you can find out a bit more. This is the question that you want to ask yourself. What is it about what's going on that's making me feel so anxious or so low or so angry or whatever it is? And you just keep repeating it. If you want to find out some more, you want to come and find us, you can find us on Barefoot Coaching, Instagram, Facebook, or that's supposed to be a bird. It's supposed to be Twitter. You know where we are. I can see a couple of comments that I'm just going to hang about and sort of see where we're going. Jill, thank you for your comment. Thank you for sharing, first of all. Again, that sounds like a really, really difficult situation. I want you all to know there is help available to you. I don't know whether all of you are in the UK, but if you're in the UK, you can get help. You don't have to go through your GP. You can go directly to IAPT services, IAPT. If you Google IAPT in whatever area you're in, you will find a couple of services. Most of them are self-referral that you can go and get an assessment for, and you can go and get some CBT. But Jill, reading back what you've said about what's happened to you, if you were hearing that from somebody else, would you be surprised if they were feeling really anxious or feeling less confident? To me, I don't know how you're getting out of bed, Jill. Never mind getting out of the house. That sounds like a lot. But you can definitely get help for that if you want to. Anuka, the question about what are the effects long-term as a person. I mean, it's physiologically draining, is anxiety. There's a lot out there about kind of long-term damage or whatever, or it can be very scary that you might get kind of long-term damage. But fundamentally, it's your body kind of having its foot on the accelerator a little bit all the time. It's exhausting for a start. That's one reason why anxiety can get confused with depression sometimes, because it's so draining and so exhausting that it leaves you with no energy if it's happening all the time. But fundamentally, you can always go and do something about it. James, I think you're right. This thing about worrying too much about the future, but that's what brains do. Your brain's job is to look ahead, spot possible danger, and try and stop it from happening. That's the idea. Thank you, everybody, for coming along. I hope it's been useful. Come and find us. I'd love to sort of hear more from you. And I'm going to sign off for now. So thanks very much.